Without further ado, let us say hello to Iron Mike, who's kind enough to join us. Every time your setup levels up, every time. It's never the same, and it's more impressive every time.
I tell you what, I'm on the road. All right, I'm actually at Live Large Studios. All right, one of my my mentor and best friend, Chris Patterson. This is his studio. He coaches people all around the world. So I said, hey, put up something sweet, okay? Because Ariel's a star. So I put up some stars back there, and yeah, here I am.
Holy shit! What a background! This is amazing. What is that, like a virtual
screen? I want. Yeah, we can put whatever we want back there. I chose stars for you.
I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Is your voice still like struggling from that promo? From the 50 seconds? Injured.
I'm injured. Absolutely injured. I'm on injured reserve. No, I mean, I was in obviously Anaheim. Now I'm on the East Coast. Did some stuff here, and I might have to tell everybody, hey, I'm not sick. I literally injured my voice on Monday Night Raw. So
because you were screaming
so loud. Now, yeah, we'll get into it. Yeah, but before I went on, one of the producers was like, hey, this microphone, it's gated. And I'm like, hey, what's gated mean? He's like, gated means you have to speak up. And I'm like, I don't think that'll be a problem. But, you know, the moment took over and a star was born.
Okay. So I have so many questions here because legit, I'm watching. I'm like, what the hell? You know, I've seen enough wrestling in my day where they're like, hey, there's the guy in the front row. You don't usually get the microphone to cut a promo from the front row. So tell me, you're at 298. You're there in Anaheim, right? You went to the event, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What happened? How do you get to Raw, and how does this all go down? I want the whole thing. If you can tell me soup to nuts, how does this happen?
So it was planned. I was going to be at Monday Night Raw. So obviously, you know, TKO Group, WWE, UFC, all one big happy family. So this was the first time that they were kind of intermingling the UFC crowd with the WWE crowd, bringing some fighters. It was me, Jalen Turner, Giga was there. Tabitha Ricci and Kellen Walsh were there. So we had some people in the suite, you know, mixing and mingling with different fans. The crossover has begun. And yeah, you know, they put me down in the front row, and then I took matters into my own hands. I took mics into my own hand.
Nah, seriously, what happens? Like, do they tell you literally took that? Like, you didn't just like go to business for yourself, say, give me the microphone.
Well, I did. Well, no, I did 2 minutes before. They said, hey, they're going to put the camera on you. I said, why don't you give me that microphone? And they said, hold on, let me run it up the flagpole real quick. And then about a minute later, they said, hey, you're going on in a minute, and they're gonna, you're gonna get the microphone if you want the microphone. And then magic happened.
Wow. So all of this happened like in 5 minutes?
Yeah, less than 5 minutes. There was nothing prepared, nothing. Yeah, it was. I was thrown into the fire, smacked myself a couple times, and then we went.
What was that energy like?
It was great. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some, you know, cool dude, but man, the electricity in that arena was just as big as Saturday night with the UFC, if not bigger, right? I mean, watching the guys walkouts, you know, I'm walking around, people are screaming my name. It was really, really cool. Then I obviously got on the mic. You know, it still remains to be seen. There's no video footage of me taking my shirt off, but Pat McAfee said I took my shirt off. So got the crowd into it, man. I was flexing on everybody. It was fun, man. It was a lot of fun, and man, I'm tired of waiting on Conor. So get his candy ass back to the octagon.
So the way they shot it, as I'm sure you've seen since, there was the WrestleMania logo right behind you. And so that got my wheels turning, saying like, are they setting something up here? Was there any sort of reason why they did that, to the best of your knowledge?
As you know, you've been around the sport long enough to know that there's little hints being dropped everywhere, right? And that, you know, that was definitely coincidental. But I did have a meeting with Triple H after, and we chopped it up. I paid my respects. I grew up watching Triple H. So we had a nice little talk, and man, I'd love to head out to Philly in April. So we'll see what happens.
Was that your first time meeting Triple H, aka Paul Levesque?
I think I met him, just barely crossed paths with him one other time, but this is the first time I got some time with him, and you know, got to chop it up, and obviously he liked what he saw. A lot of the other WWE brass loved what they saw, so there were some talks happening, so it was fun.
So the picture that you posted, was that post promo or pre promo?
Which one?
Though when you posted and you said like contract signed, you and Triple H talking in the back.
Yes, that was post promo.
Okay, and so how long did that?
My phone started ringing off the hook, and text messages were coming in, and yeah, one was Triple H, so we had to meet up.
Oh my gosh, how long was that meeting?
Not too long. I mean, he was obviously busy. They're heading off to Perth. They got the Elimination Chamber this weekend, you know.
Look
so,
at you knowing all the events. It's impressive.
Oh, man. Yeah, I was watching it, man. I'll be watching. I'll be tuned in, man. I almost hopped on a flight to Perth, but, man, I needed to limber up. I got a big fight against an Irishman in the next couple months. So
now, when you say contract signed, what are you trying to say there? What are you implying?
I am implying that it's not the last you're going to see of me in the WWE, possibly.
Really?
Possibly.
This was a real thing. Was it a real conversation?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Yes, I would like to know.
We will see. All right. We will see. No, I mean, obviously, yeah, there's a crossover there. Ton of respect for the wrestlers, the brass there. They have a ton of respect for the UFC. I mean, it was really cool being there, watching other athletes and entertainers and performers, and being huge fans of mixed martial arts, and me of them. So it was really cool. I mean, there's a lot of synergy there, and the sky's the limit when it comes to TKO group and what we can do in the crossover. And yeah, man, it's probably just the very beginning. I mean, of course, this was going to happen, you know, kind of the meshing of both brands, if you will. But I feel like I was the catalyst that was kind of the first to start it. As you said, even you not knowing, right? You're in the know when it comes to the WWE professional wrestling. And yeah, man, it was kind of the first kickoff of what is to come, you know.
So I loved everything about it. Like I said to you on Monday, I reside though in that middle portion of the Venn diagram of MMA, wrestling, boxing. Like I love all of them, but there are some fans, you know, who don't like all of them, right? Who say, I don't want my food to touch, right? I don't want anything. Did you hear from fans who said, no, I don't want the MMA guys I don't want the UFC guys to go to wrestling because that's the fake stuff. That's the scripted stuff. Did you hear any of that? And even if you didn't, because I certainly did, because I was talking about it, do you understand where they're coming from?
I absolutely understand where they're coming from. And it's founded. It makes a complete sense what they're saying. But obviously there's an entertainment value to everything. And the level at which your ship rises, or the height at which your star shoots toward the moon, has a lot to do with how you make people feel. The fact that I can go in there, be the toughest dude, most entertaining fighter on the planet, and then hop on the microphone, have some different skills that make people feel something, whether you love it or hate it. I've had a lot of people, even before this, the actual WWE meshing, if you will, that people are like, I just don't like him when he cuts a promo. And it's like, that's fine, but 90-something% love it. 90-something% loved what happened on Monday night, right? I get they don't want to see a UFC fighter there at WWE, whatever their perception or their opinions may be. But overall, I think the overwhelming majority was like, dang, this is pretty cool, you know? And I loved it. I loved the experience, the WWE fans, the WWE brass. Everything was on the positive, man. So it was a lot of fun.
And so you're out there, you're cutting this promo. It's all very well received. Do you hear anything from Conor? But I don't think he's commented on it publicly. I don't know what kind of relationship you guys have. Do you DM each other? Do you talk shit? Have you heard anything from him?
We don't. Yeah, no, we've never DM'd or any of that kind of stuff. Our only interactions have been on the show or when we've kept past each other in crossing or in passing. I haven't really seen. I saw some people that said he liked it or he responded or whatever it may be. Honestly, I haven't really been on it, social media much. I've traveled from Anaheim to Jacksonville. Got some work out here I'm doing. I'm doing an event tonight, speaking on stage. So just keep myself busy, and the fight's going to materialize when it materializes and how it materializes.
There was a time maybe 5-6 years ago where I don't know if many people could have imagined Michael Chandler pulling something like this off on a couple of minutes' notice with that type of energy, nailing the promo. Very, very impressive. Where did this come from? Because you weren't always this guy. What was the turning point for you to develop these skills?
I got to be honest with you, man. I don't think I ever truly deserved it because I didn't have the platform and the reach that I knew that I could handle a stage like this. I knew I could command a room, take the entire Honda Center and have every single person going crazy. I knew I could do that. I know I can do that. But prior to coming into the UFC, prior to this is the greatest moment in my professional life, doing a backflip off of the cage in Abu Dhabi when I knock out Dan Hooker, a top 5 guy, as I come into the UFC. That was when I really said, okay, it's time to unleash, who I am and who I can be on the microphone. That's why I said in my last one, trusted with the mic. if it was anybody else who said, "Hey, give me the microphone," how many guys would be able to pull that off? And I try not to say that to impress anybody, but say that to impress upon you. I am here, and I'm a multidimensional guy who I love to have in the microphone. I love to impact people, and I love to keep my foot on the gas and go in there and get into a physical altercation and get fight of the night every single time I step inside the octagon. So I just needed to continue to acquire the skills, acquire the confidence, acquire the platform that I knew I would finally have, and now we have it. And I got to pinch myself every now and then. So it's a lot of fun. So all my fans out there who have been patiently waiting, just stay on the train. We're heading to the top.
And speaking of the top, I was just going to ask you, do you remember the first time you said, "See you at the top" in public on a microphone?
Man, I don't know if I ever even said it in Bellator, to be honest with you. I think it was the Dan Hooker fight. And that is coincidentally, as I said, my mentor, best friend, Chris Patterson. He is a huge Zig Ziglar guy. He actually was mentored by Zig Ziglar. I try not to ever take credit for "See You at the Top." That was Zig Ziglar. That was his line. He wrote a book called "See You at the Top." It is now trademarked by somebody else. And, we're working with that person. But yeah, I mean, it's become my line, it's become my tagline. But for me, every single time, it's a hat tip to the man and the greatest speaker of all time, Zig Ziglar.
Did someone like squat on that? What happened there?
I won't say he's squatting on it, but he has the rights to it. I'm friends with Tom Ziegler, Zig's son, a friend of the Ziegler Corporation, the whole Ziegler legacy that they have. And no, he's been kind enough. I've licensed it from him. That's why I'm able to put out merch and those kind of things. But yeah, man, it's not my line. But more importantly, what's most important is it's the CU more important than the at the top, because I always say I knew I would be sitting here at this point where I was at, and if I can't look to my left and look to my right and see the people that I was able to come up with me, I wasn't able to bring people up and say, "Hey man, because of the way he lives his life, because of the way that he trains, because of the way that he has grabbed life by the cojones and continued to trod forward, I'm where I am today because that guy inspired me." And that's what Zig's legacy always was. My coach and mentor, Chris Patterson, he was a Ziegler legacy certified coach. I love the book. I've read the book 100 times. And yeah, man, I just want to be able to see people at the top. I want to keep on climbing, and I want to bring other people up with me.
Triple H is one thing, but just curious, after the promo, any of the guys in the back say anything to you, give you props, show you love, any interaction that sticks out?
Yeah, a lot did, man. Maybe my brother from another mother, Chad Gable, too, man. We both got the ears.
Yeah.
People were kind of talking about how we look alike.
Yeah.
He's a collegiate. Well, I don't know if he was collegiate. I think he was a Greco wrestler, freestyle Greco guy. So I saw him on the way out and saw a bunch of the guys and gals, the wrestlers there. So it was really cool. Plus some of the WWE brass. I think, they saw, what I was able to do, and I'm fully focused on knocking out Conor in the biggest stage I could have ever asked for. And then, yeah, maybe we'll see what happens in the squared circle.
Last thing on that, do you think you could do, like, what they do is pretty damn tough, right? I'm not saying you can't, but like on the body, from an athletic standpoint, I don't think they get enough credit. Being there live in the front row, do you think you can do that on a nightly basis?
I don't think they get enough credit. And I don't think, just like I say, UFC and mixed martial arts is really, really cool. And sometimes the best place to watch it is from the comfort of your home, so you can hear the commentators and whatnot. But there's nothing like a UFC show actually being there and seeing it. And when it comes to WWE, I'm absolutely blown away, especially being that close, watching these bodies fly and flip and slam and smack, and the bodies hitting the floor, literally. Being able to see it that close is, yeah, I mean, it's even for a mixed martial artist. Obviously, I'm outside of fight mode whenever I'm there. I'm just watching as from the entertainment factor. You're kind of squirming a little bit because, like, dang, that looked like it hurt, man. These guys, they don't get enough credit. Crazy athletes and a heck of a show, man. The UFC puts on a great show. WWE, I got to say too, man, some of these guys walking out, the entire crowd is chanting.
Yeah.
They're singing along. They've got pyrotechnics. I looked to a couple WWE people, or I was with Ozzy from the UFC, some other UFC people, and then WWE. I was like, hey, I need some pyrotechnics in my next fight, man. I want some fireworks. I want some explosions. I want something cool, man. So it was a heck of a show. And yeah, man, I might be heading out to Philly in April to check out WrestleMania because it was a lot of fun.
Okay, so now that that's all out of the way, Michael, now we have to talk about the brass tacks. I have said now for the last few weeks, they announced you and Connor as the coaches around almost a year ago. It was like late February, early March, right?
Yep.
I think they should have announced that you're on tough, and then in a year, first time ever, longest build ever, in a year at UFC 300, these two guys are going to headline. I still cannot understand why you're not the main event of UFC 300. And I saw your tweet, what could have been. Can you explain to me why it's not you versus Connor? Now we're talking about a fight that's over a year in the making, and you guys have been talking about each other for long before that. Why isn't that happening on April 13th?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of complicated stuff happening behind the scenes. Nobody's had to feel like they've waited longer than me, right? I've been ready to fight since right after the Ultimate Fighter. But I also understand the time off has been good. The time with my family has been good. Business has been booming outside of me fighting in the cage for a paycheck. But ultimately, yeah, I mean, Connor's got his stuff going on. He's now promoting Roadhouse that's coming out in March. Obviously there was the USADA stuff and then now the new drug testing stuff. There was just all these different layers. Plus what Dana has said, man, money complicates things. There's a lot of money involved in this fight. There's a lot of money in Connor's camp outside, what he has built and what he has amassed and everybody, whether you love him or hate him, you got to respect what the man has built, right? So it has complicated things, and but either way, the Chandler train is continuing to move forward. In we're not getting off this train. This is the fight that is happening. I can't tell you a date. I can't tell you a weight, but I can tell you the fight is happening, and I have way too many assurances that this fight is happening to think otherwise. So. There's some dates that make sense. Obviously, UFC 300 made a lot of sense. It really did. Got to be honest with you. I thought, that was what it was going to be. Makes a lot of sense. Why wouldn't you want to be and headline the biggest card that UFC has ever put on, right? But ultimately, it's not. And we stay patient. We stay training. We stay ready.
Are you disappointed it's not happening at 300?
Yeah, there's definitely a part of me that 300 is just it's a monumentous card, man. It's the UFC putting on 300 shows, being around now for 30 years. It would have been really cool, but also every single opportunity to go fight under in the UFC octagon under the UFC banner with a UFC push behind you, they're all huge. Conor knows that, I know that, the powers that be in the UFC know that. So we're going to get the fight happening. The fight's going to happen. There's different rumors going on around later this year, fall, summer, whatever it might be. But we just need everybody to stay patient. I understand the sentiment. I understand the haste at which people want this fight to be booked. I understand it. Everybody loves to see me fight. Every time I fight, every time I go to a fight, I'm reminded why people love to watch me fight, because I do bring a different speed, a different cadence, a different ferocity than most fighters are willing to go to. And then obviously Conor being the biggest combat star on the planet, people want to see this fight, but patience is a virtue, man. And I've learned that over the last year, and I'm going to keep on keeping on.
Safe to say, when this was first announced last year, never in a million years did you think it would take this long, right?
I knew what I signed up for. I will say that. Every month that goes by, I'm like, man, I didn't know it was going to take this long. But then I'm like reminded of the conversation I had with Dana and Hunter, and they're like, hey, this is going to be something different than you've ever done before. This is not like booking a regular fight. So there's going to be some highs, there's going to be some lows, there's going to be some brick walls you're going to run into. There's going to be some days you want to step off the train, but stay on the train. So we're heading towards a collision course. Conor's road back to the UFC goes through Nashville, Tennessee. He can't go and fight anybody else. He's fighting me. It's Chandler versus McGregor. Hopefully this summer. That's my plan. I'm at least planning for that sometime this summer after UFC 300, and we'll see when that contract gets booked. Whenever the fight announcement happens, it's gonna be a big one.
So he announced on December 31st, June 29th, right? And everything that I'm still hearing is that it is June 29th, but I think they kind of want to handle it on their own and announce it on their own. Then Dana said fall, but I'm still hearing June 29th. International Fight Week is June 29th. That's got to be it, right? Like, I mean, between us, it's June 29th, right?
Is it just me and you here?
Yeah,
Nobody can hear us on this microphone. Yeah. No, I mean, obviously that date this summer makes a lot of sense. I mean, there's only it's got to be a big marquee card, you know, so people can read between the lines and know what the big marquee cards are. I mean, I have not gotten confirmation that it is June 29th or any other card, by the way. So I know it's obviously not UFC 300 at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping for this summer, and I will train as such. I'm already in shape. The whole Honda Center saw that on Monday night. So I'm ready to get into a training camp, and I can't wait to dispatch of this man.
And it's got to be 170, right? The 85 thing was just kind of a joke.
I welcome any weight. You know, obviously 155, 170, 185. The way I see it is 185, 170. I'm doing the exact same training camp as I would at 155. I'm doing the same amount of cardio, the same amount of training. I will probably just eat a little bit more, and it might be a little bit more enjoyable. But I've been making 155 for 15 years now. I've weighed in a couple hundred times in wrestling, now 31 times in mixed martial arts. I've never missed weight, never pulled out of a fight, never postponed a fight, never changed a fight date. I've always been the guy who shows up, puts his money where his mouth is, show up with my work boots on, and sign on the dotted line and do my job. So I don't care if it's 155, 170, 185. 170, 185 are going to be easier to make, obviously. But wherever it might be. And that's where it's so funny how it's like, man, a real fighter goes any weight, anytime, any place, anywhere, anybody. But then all of a sudden, I'm willing to do that. And I say that. And then people say, oh, you just want the red panty night, you dude. You'll just want to do what you're told and you'll go wherever you want to go, whatever weight Conor says. Blah, blah. It's like, no, man. I signed on the dotted line back in February of last year to do the Ultimate Fighter and to fight Conor after. I don't care where it is, when it is, or what weight it is. That's what real fighters do. So, it's interesting, man. It's been a fun ride, and the people who are with me, and the people who aren't are going to be bewildered whenever I knock this dude out, whenever the fight is.
I asked you this in the past, but I'm just wondering, like, now that time is ticking, is there a new deadline? At some point, you have to move on with your life, right? Because even the way Dana talks about him, it's like, yeah, you know, maybe he doesn't, maybe he has enough money, this and that. At some point, you have to move on with your life. I don't think you should now. I feel like it's right there. But in your mind, is there a new deadline?
I think every day it's a moving target. Like I said, if I was having any kind of inclination or information coming to my doorstep on my phone behind the scenes that made it sound like this fight was not happening, yeah, we might make a pivot. But as of right now, it's happening. And, you know, like I said, we don't have a date, but we sure are getting dang close. All the prerequisites and check marks thus far that everyone said, oh, he's not getting back in the testing pool, or, oh, we're not going to see him performing like he used to. Have you seen the dude's sparring footage? Seen the dude's grappling footage? Have you seen the dude, how in shape the dude is? The dude is training. He's obviously putting the work in. You guys see me training every single day. I'm putting the work in. I believe people are going to say it's not the best Conor that we have ever seen, and it remains to be seen, obviously. But a man who gets pushed into a corner, who is told that his career is over, and now he has to overcome odds. That's the Conor that I want to fight. You guys can say what you want about him, but he has never once pulled out of a fight. He's had numerous people pull out of fights against him. He's taken fights on short notice. He's gone up weight classes, down weight classes. So once again, I'm not sitting here tooting his horn, but I have an immense amount of respect for every single person that does what we do and makes the sacrifices that we make. So he's training, I'm training, and it looks like we're heading in the right direction as we speak today.
Do you have any regrets of the past year?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I see it. People can do the math. Well, first of all, people's math is way off. They're like, he waited 2 years. It's only been 1 year.
Yes.
It's only been 1 year. And I filmed The Ultimate Fighter, and I filmed my own show while The Ultimate Fighter was going on. And I've got all these other things going on outside of the octagon. Plus, let's take people down a trip down memory lane. I signed with the organization in September of 2020, had my first fight against Dan Hooker, January of 2021. Since then, I have fought every single fight that I have had has been a top 10 guy. Dan Hooker was number 5. Tony Ferguson was number 7, so that's the highest ranked guy I have fought, right? Or the lowest ranked guy I have fought. Every single other guy has been inside of the top 2, top 3 in the world. Former world champions, former interim world champions, and every single fight has either been fight of the night, performance of the night. I had the debut of the year. I mean, I came out hot. Whenever I said I'm not here for a long time, I'm here for a good time. And when I said I came in and Hunter Campbell made good on his promise when I looked him in the eye and said, hey, I'm not coming in here to tiptoe around the top 20, top 10. Either I am who I say I am or I am not. And I came into the organization and tried to prove either I am who I say I am or am not. And I think I've come out smelling like a dozen roses. And I think we've won the hearts and minds of millions and millions of people. I've had a blast doing it. And maybe I didn't mind having 12 months off now. Maybe I didn't mind letting my brain, my body heal, letting my heart heal, being away from my two sons, being away from my wife, all those training camps over the last 2 or 3 years. So it's been a heck of a year. Not going to sit here and lie and say there hasn't been moments where I was like, man, this is silly, man. I might need to hop off the train. But all in all, by and large, man, this has been the best year of my life. And I believe I'm going to have the best performance of my life whenever me and Conor fight.
Just curious, what do you think of Ilia Topuria saying that he's going to get Conor in Madrid?
Yeah, I mean, more power to him, man. I think we, he's undefeated. He's salty. He's young, but he's not that young. He's 27, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So he's getting into that realm of, hey, this guy's firing on all cylinders. I was there that night. I was cage side, front row watching it. I was honestly pulling for Volk. If you don't like Alexander Volkanovski, I don't know if you can be an MMA fan. He's one of the most beloved human beings in the sport of mixed martial arts. I love him. Everybody loves him. So I was pulling for Volk. The way he was able to go out there, get the KO, man. Ilia Topuria he's legit. He's not fighting Conor next in Spain. But say the guy's name. Maybe you'll get it after I dispatch of him.
Just curious, as a fighter, do you think that Volk gets knocked out on Saturday if he doesn't get knocked out by Islam in October?
I never want to strengthen the narrative of someone maybe making a bad decision, but it would maybe lend itself to that, right? I mean, Volk coming out, taking that fight on short notice, and then fighting 3.5, 4 months after, which means you're back into a training camp, back sparring, taking blows to the head again, just a month and a half, 2 months later. It's not the right recipe, so to speak, almost pretty much the exact opposite of what I've done. And this is why you can look at that and you could say, man, Volk might have had a different outcome that night had he not gone right back into a training camp. That's why I haven't been punched in the head. I haven't sparred at all in an entire year. I've drilled, I've moved around, I've play sparred, I've done MMA training, which people love to say all you do is lift weights, right? But it's the work that I do behind the scenes that nobody sees that is the most important work. But I've not taken a tough blow to the head in 12 months, right? So it is a real thing. Your brain can shut off, your body can shut off, and there is a diminishing effect when it comes to being able to take punches. And I don't want to say that was why it happened, but I want to see the best for Volk. I would like to see him sit down a little bit, enjoy some time with his family, still stay involved, but don't take any punches to the head, man, because we need him in the sport for a little while longer.
Take an extended period, right? Extended period off, it would help him?
Yeah, I mean, and it's never me to say, and it's never, he's got some good people around him, but yeah, I mean, definitely a little bit longer than after the Islam fight, right? And it's mainly because I freaking love the dude, man. I think he's a great athlete. He's a great ambassador for the sport. He's a great champion, and can't say enough great things about him. And there's a lot of things that I admire about him and his game and how he fights and how he carries himself. So it's guys like that, the good ones in the sport that we need to protect Volk at all costs.
Two last things, and then I'll let you go. Thank you, as always, for the time. Coming up next, Benoit Saint-Denis, Dustin Poirier, your weight class, which is your traditional weight class. You might be fighting at middleweight, but you get what I'm saying. Who do you like in that one?
Never bet against Dustin Poirier. I can tell you that. Here I go again. People are going to think I'm trashing this guy. I don't know if I've seen the other guy fight, Benoit.
Yeah.
But I know there's a ton of hype behind him. He's obviously come up in the last year or so. I've been in the sport, but a little bit out of the sport, focusing on business and family and those kind of things, but still training. But I will say, never bet against Dustin Poirier. Salty, veteran, absolute stud. Doesn't like me very much, but I respect him. I respect him as a fighter, and he's good. So I'd like to see Poirier go out there, get his hand raised for the veterans.
Charles Arman.
Never bet against Charles Oliveira, man.
Yeah.
Arman is a stud. He's building as well. These two fights, take a look at that too and see how those four guys right there, my name was never in the conversation, right? Beneil Dariush just fought not too long ago, whatever. All these guys that are ranked right around me, my name was never even in the conversation. So that's one indicator right there that I was never offered another fight, and all these guys are fighting each other. You got Gaethje and Holloway fighting now. You don't think people want to see me fight Justin Gaethje for the BMF belt? that would make a lot of sense after I dispatch of Conor if they don't give me Islam after fighting for the BMF title. But I want to see Justin go out there and wear that lightweight strap. So I might be fighting Gaethje after this, no matter what, for one of those belts. But I got Oliveira. I think he's too much. I still think he's got so much left in the tank and so much left to prove. Charles Oliveira 2.0, by the way, because we remember he had his first career in the UFC, couldn't be relied upon, up and down, missing weight, bad performances. Then this new Charles, he's a hungry lion, man, and he still believes the champion has a name, and his name is Charles Oliveira, right? So I'd love to see Charles go out there and win, but hats off to Armin. He's building something beautiful here so far.
What's the speaking engagement tonight? I always thought you were perfect for this. Is this part of the new life that you're building out of fighting?
Yeah, a little bit. Tonight is my coach, Chris Patterson. There's going to be a couple hundred people in a room. It's all business owners. Obviously, the beautiful thing about what I have been blessed with is this fight career that is so similar to every other aspect of life. Every aspect of life is a fight. Whether it doesn't matter if you're talking about business, if you're talking about your family life, your marriage, your relationships, your friendships, your spiritual journey, your emotional journey, whatever it is. So I've just got some cool insight when it comes to a guy who has fought in a cage for all these different years, so many ups, so many downs, and a lot of life lessons that I've been able to glean from it, right? I've actually met today with one of the biggest speakers on the planet. He's literally the biggest speaker on the planet, the most sought after speaker on the planet. And so he's mentoring me and coaching me for this fight. And then Chris has an event tonight, a couple hundred people, and I'm just going to go out there and talk about fighting and fighting for what you believe in and fighting for the next rung of life that all of them, these business owners, entrepreneurs, millionaires, billionaires are trying to get to.
This speaker, most sought after one, is mentoring you for the Conor fight?
Yeah.
Wow.
His name is Ed Milet.
And what does that mean, mentoring you? Like, you will meet with him, you will talk to him leading up to the fight?
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of very, visualization is a huge part of the training. It, quite frankly, the X's and the O's and the physical aspect of it isn't as important as what is going on between these two ears of mine. So he coaches a lot of people that you watch on the TV, a lot of sports figures, a lot of world leaders. So it's actually very, very awesome. He's been a friend of mine now for a decade. Now it's finally time for he and I to go deep and really figure out what's going on up in here so I can go out there and not just beat Conor, but do something very, very special that people are not expecting. And it's it's going to be fun.
Wow. Fascinating. All right. Well, I'll be at WrestleMania, Michael, and I hope that they announce you versus Conor there. That's what I'm thinking. They bring you guys out there on the big stage, 80,000 people, Lincoln Financial Field, and that's what I think we're doing. That's what I've come to the conclusion.
Anything is possible, man. This new TKO group merger, if you will, is anything is possible. But we'll be having some calls this week, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, good luck to you. Great stuff. Really well done on Monday. Nice surprise, a good old-fashioned surprise. I appreciate that. Well done, and thank you for coming on as always. And good luck tonight at the speaking event.
Thank you, Errol. Appreciate you, man.
All right, see you at the top. There he is, Michael Chandler. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it very much. Hey, if you like this video, give us the old thumbs up. Subscribe as well. You could get many more of these videos on the channel, so please do that. We would love you forever if you did so.